Good afternoon. I'm Shawn Yao, and this is One News Now. Malacanang has backtracked on President Duterte's recent pronouncements about withholding a certain city's power to distribute cash aid or ayuda. Let's clarify all of this with Maricel Halili, who joins us live from Mandaluyong City. Hi, Mase. Good afternoon. Did the palace spokesman name this city? Did he clarify whether or not the president or the residents of that city will be receiving their ayuda?
Hi, Sean. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque refused to name names. He refused to identify which particular city and who was this particular mayor that President Duterte was referring during his talk to the people last night. President Duterte pointed out that this particular mayor is not capable enough to maintain order when it comes to the vaccination program. So his fear is that once the national government gives him the authority to distribute the cash aid, there is a huge probability that this event will be a super spreader. But despite this statement, President Duterte did not name names. So when we asked presidential spokesperson earlier, who is this particular mayor, he said that he doesn't have any authority to mention any names since his boss or his superior also did not identify who was this mayor. Despite this statement, Secretary Roque gave his assurance that all residents of all the cities and the municipality in the National Capital Region will receive ayuda.
All right, that's good to hear. Now, checking in on the vaccination drive, how is vaccination going in and around Metro Manila amid the implementation of ECQ? For example, we hear that the city of San Juan, where I currently am, is now at over 100% with at least some priority sectors.
Yeah, Sean, it's not just the city of San Juan. It is also the city of Mandaluyong has achieved more than 100% vaccination in their residents or population. Well, the reason behind this is that the cities in Metro Manila do not just accommodate their constituents or their residents. They also accommodate the A4 category, those who belong in the A4 category, or those individuals who are working in their cities. This is the reason why they achieve more than 100%, both San Juan and Mandaluyong City. We actually asked for an update regarding the additional 4 million vaccines that the National Capital Region is requesting from the Interagency Task Force. It was actually approved, if you recall. MMDA Chair Benher Abalos mentioned that the National Capital Region have already received 3 million of the requested additional 4 million. They are still waiting for the additional 1 million once the certificate for Sinovac has already issued.
All right, and around the entire country or nationwide, how many vaccines have already been administered so far? Are we at arrival of more supplies and when?
More or less, the national government have already vaccinated about 20 million individuals. We're expecting more vaccines to come. If I remember it right, Vaccine Star Carlito Galvez already mentioned that we're expecting to receive about 25 million doses of vaccines by August. Of course, there is still insufficiency when it comes to the doses or the supply of vaccines, but we're hoping that more vaccines will be delivered to the country by the last quarter of this year.
And spokesman Roque held his briefing at the One Hospital Command Center headquarters. Maset, how is the COVID-19 referral system holding up amid the news, you know, that some private hospitals are filling up already with patients?
Yes, that's right, Sean. A number of hospitals here in the National Capital Region are expecting a huge increase when it comes to the number of patients. One of these hospitals is the Tala Hospital. Earlier this morning, the head of the Tala Hospital has discussed that they are already accommodating more than 250 patients. All of those are COVID patients in their hospitals. They only accept patients referred by the one hospital command, and for the last 2 weeks they have observed a sudden increase when it comes to the COVID patients. Although it's good that a number or major or well a huge number of residents have already inoculated with the COVID vaccine. It's a big help because at least they can minimize the number of those who are experiencing moderate to severe symptoms of COVID-19. The one hospital command has already transferred their command center. They are now doing their they are now holding their command center at the PICC. They have already added some customer service online so that they can accommodate more phone calls for referrals.
All right, and spokesman Roque is again drawing flack online, this time proclaiming that the government's investment in athletes was the reason behind our historic finish in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Must said the palace spokesman have anything to say about this?
Well, Secretary Roque, Sean said that if we compare the budget allotted during the Duterte administration, it is bigger compared to the previous administration. So he said that it's pretty obvious that they have also invested, and it resulted to winning of our Olympians.
All right. Thank you so much for all those updates, Maricel Halili, joining us live from Mandaluyong City. Thank you, Maricel. And the Medical City Hospital in Pasig has announced that it can no longer accept COVID-19 patients. In a statement, the hospital said that its COVID-19 floors, emergency rooms, and intensive care units have all reached full capacity. The Medical City has asked those in need of urgent care to contact the One Hospital Command Center. It also assured the safety of all COVID and non-COVID patients admitted in the hospital. In its latest bulletin, the Health Department reported that 67% of COVID ICU beds in Metro Manila are now occupied. And Russia's Gamaleya has applied for an emergency use authorization of the single-dose version of its Sputnik V vaccine. FDA Director General Eric Domingo said the country's vaccine experts are currently studying the Sputnik Light shot. The Russian Direct Investment Fund said the single-dose vaccine is 79.4% effective against COVID-19. The two-dose Sputnik V has an efficacy rate of over 91%. Both vaccines require a storage temperature of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And more countries are now looking at mixing COVID-19 vaccine types or brands as a strategy to help end the pandemic amid supply issues. More details in this Bloomberg report.
Year before liquor, never been sicker.
But what about Pfizer before Moderna?
Will that do the same?
At the start of the pandemic, the plan was always for people to get 2 shots of the same vaccine, or 1 shot if it was a single shot dose. But that's not really how things worked out. Months into the vaccine rollout, a number of countries have injected people with 2 different shots. Why is that? In March, rare blood clots associated with the AstraZeneca vaccine triggered many countries, mostly those in Europe, to pause the vaccine's use. So when people were due for a second shot, they didn't get another Astra jab. This affected a lot of people, from the cafe owner down the street to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who first got an Astra shot and then a Moderna one. Is that okay? Well, here's what we know. Some vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna use the same type of technology called mRNA. Does that mean it's okay for them to mix and match? Here's what my colleague Todd Gillespie found in his reporting.
Having a Pfizer shot followed by a Moderna shot or vice versa is pretty much the same as having two of one of those vaccines, as far as we understand it at the moment. They're both mRNA vaccines, which means that their base level technology is kind of the same. The real potential for side effects, but also outsized immune responses, some people are predicting, comes from when you mix two different types of vaccine technologies. So for instance, starting with a J&J shot or an AstraZeneca shot, which are viral vector vaccines, and following them up with an mRNA vaccine like Pfizer or Moderna.
Mixing vaccines that use different designs could activate the immune system in different ways. This is called
Heterologous prime boosting.
Here's how the combos stack up. Among combinations tested in the University of Oxford's COM-COV trial, the 2-dose course of the Pfizer vaccine produced the highest level of antibodies which fight the virus directly. People who've had an Astra shot followed by a Pfizer one had the strongest level of T cells, which stimulate antibody production and help destroy virus-infected cells. A small trial in Germany found that mixing Astra and Pfizer vaccines could also trigger neutralizing antibodies at levels almost 4 times higher than 2 Pfizer shots. A Spanish study also found that the same combination made neutralizing antibodies climb 7-fold compared to 2 Astra shots. What hasn't been determined yet is what combination creates the longest and strongest protection against variants. The thing is, there is precedence to vaccine mixing. We've done it in Ebola in Rwanda, and it's been tested in clinical trials for other diseases like HIV and hepatitis. But when it comes to COVID vaccines, there's a lack of those large clinical trials. Here's infectious disease epidemiologist Ben Cowling on what this could mean.
I think there's a lot of potential, but we haven't tested it. So I think it's a missed opportunity, because when BioNTech was made, the developers just look at BioNTech plus BioNTech. When Sinovac's made, the developers look at Sinovac plus Sinovac. Nobody's really yet looked at combining them in Hong Kong or in other parts of the world with AstraZeneca, with other vaccines. I think immunologically there could be advantages, but we can't recommend it until it's been tested. Right. So I'm not very keen on the idea in Thailand where they said Sinovac plus AstraZeneca. That hasn't really been tested in clinical trials. So we think it should work, but I think it needs to be tested first.
There's also some evidence that mixing vaccines could cause some worse side effects. According to preliminary data from the Oxford COM-COV study, 30 to 40% of those who received mixed shots reported fevers after a second dose, compared to 10 to 20% of those who had 2 doses of the same vaccine. However, researchers did say that the fevers didn't last long and they had no other safety concerns. The Spanish study found mild side effects similar to those seen in standard shots. But the US CDC has warned against mixing vaccines, saying the safety and efficacy of a mixed product series have not been evaluated. So what's the verdict? What we know is that there's one major advantage to mixing vaccines. In countries where vaccines are scarce, knowing people can safely and effectively mix them can help overcome shortages and allow more people to get fully vaxxed. And if researchers can find a super vaccine cocktail combo, it could boost immunity for longer and protect against COVID and its variants more effectively and reliably. That's the hot take. Thanks for watching.
And here's a quick look at today's top stories. Metro Manila mayors have voted to prohibit outdoor exercise during the 2-week ECQ period. The signed resolution on the policy will come out later today. The Philippines is out of recession after posting an 11.8% year-on-year growth in the second quarter. But economists warn that this growth could be a distortion coming off a low baseline after the impact of COVID-19 on businesses. And TV5 chairman and sports patron Manny V. Pangilinan will be setting up a Center for Sports Excellence in Antipolo City. The facility, which will be located at the First Pacific Leadership Academy, is aimed at providing a dedicated learning and training hub for Filipino athletes. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.